I have a few minutes that I want to talk about a few things. I haven't made a video in a while, so I, even though I really don't get any questions, but I still like to open it up for discussion. And I want to talk a little bit about trust. Can anybody tell me what trust is? Who do you believe? What do you believe in? And talking from a black person perspective, trust is very hard. Yes, it is. Because we have been misused for so long. I'm reading this book. I mean, I have read this book, Medical Apartheid. And, they always say that black people don't trust the medical uh, um, the medical uh, system because of the way black people have been treated and are being treated. And it really boils down to the first thing come to mind is the Tuskegee syphilis study, where they blighted lives and early deaths of hundreds of subjects and their families. But this was only the beginning. Yes, it disrupted the family. It is so many things that have changed our family structure and the way family treat one another. Back if we were still in Africa, you would have never heard of a black man killing his family or a black son or daughter killing their parents or grandparents. That was never ever heard of. And if it was done, it was for some royalty uh, family that wanted to be prince or something. I mean, and that was rare. But see, now that we were stolen and brought to this country, our values have changed because of stuff like this. The health of 30 million Africans Americans is continually imperiled, partly because many eschew effective care rather than risk the tender mercies of the government sponsored medicine. Although many studies and abuses contribute to this uh, fractrophobia, Tuskegee remains the ionic symbol of racialized medical abuse. Perhaps the most persistent myth holds that PHS actively injected the subjects with syphilis. This falsehood, this falsehood emanated not from overheated African American imaginations, but from the congregational record and erroneous newspaper accounts. Can you imagine? I mean, people have done worse than that. You know, it's people, especially white people, are very, very, very evil and malicious. That not only did they do this to black people, they have done it to their own kind. Don't forget. Another popular myth holds that the study's infected men were soldiers or were Tuskegee Airmen, which seems a simple erroneous association of the Tuskegee Airmen and Tuskegee Institute. This myth was reinforced when actor Lawrence Fishburne played the lead role in both Miss Evers' Boys, the irresponsible fictionalized HBO feature that based upon the Tuskegee syphilis study, and the television film The Tuskegee Airman. Yet, this myth also reflects a sad acknowledgement that the honor of Tuskegee University, a proud scientific bastion once celebrated as the Black Harvard, also fell victim to this shameful perversion of medical research. Okay, now coming up, Congress is poised to consider ill-advised legislation introduced by Representative Gary Ackerman, Democrat, New York, that would bar the blind HIV testing of blood samples taken from newborns, writes Ronald Bayer in the Washington Post. The specter of the Tuskegee syphilis study, the federal experiment that traced the course of the disease in African American men who were not informed that they had a treatable sexual transmitted disease, surrounds the debate. Okay, now this is really bad for a lot of us because we have that mistrust, and a lot of us, especially Black men, are scared to go to the doctor. And a lot of it's because they scared what the doctor may do. They scared what the doctor may say. They don't want to be told that something's wrong. And also, we are now coming to realize that it is a lot of hateful people out here too that that get in certain positions just to harm Black people. Okay. Dr. Arthur Amanan, a specialist in pediatric AIDS, compared the anonymous testing of infants in New York to the Tuskegee experiment in which Black men with syphilis was observed but not treated in a government study. Now, it's awful strange how you hear about all these white people talking about they don't trust the government. Drain the swamp and all this stuff. The impact of the Tuskegee study in which Blacks in the South were not treated for syphilis as part of a government study continues to be felt as the mistrust is generated, interferes with the attempt to combat AIDS in certain Black areas. AIDS education programs in the Black communities have often prompted the topic of Tuskegee. Many African Americans' distrust in today's medical establishment can be attributed to the Tuskegee. In fact, in the late 1920s and 30s, the very period when the Tuskegee syphilis study lost its therapeutic arm and mutated into exploitation, an experiment in malaria therapy conducted under the auspices of the Rockefeller Foundation was doing worse than allowing Black men with syphilis to die. Researchers were killing Black syphilitics outright in order to test a theory of treatment. Really? And this was in the 1920s and 30s. In 1910, New York City was home to the only hospital in the nation that was devoted exclusively to research, the Rockefeller Institute. I would be surprised if they had somebody come in there and deliberately give them syphilis. Because they're very devious. They can get you drunk. They can put stuff in your drink. They can make you accessible to sexual intent, sexual abuse. Oh, let me see. What is this about Noor? Okay. Crack baby. The myth of the crack baby. In September of 1985, the New England Journal of Medicine published research by Dr. Ira Chasanoff, an associate professor of pediatrics and psychiatrist of the University of Illinois, that described the findings that babies born to cocaine-using mothers remain smaller, sicker, moodier, and less social than other infants. His investigation, however, was tentative and profoundly flawed. It had no control group, and he had studied the children of mere 23 women, far too few to infer anything about prenatal cocaine exposure in general. Kasanoff himself was careful to note these shortcomings as he had urged larger, more meaningful studies of prenatal drug exposure. However, let's see, African Americans and whites use cocaine at similar rates, but blacks are twice as likely as whites to use it in crack form. However, 80% of drug users are white, and in raw numbers, twice as many whites as blacks use crack cocaine. This means that white crack users should be twice as easy to find, but most people's image of the crack user is informed by the media accounts that have focused nearly exclusively on African American users since the early 1980s. Now, Americans associate crack with black, and crack users' infants, dubbed crack babies, are always portrayed as black. During 18 years as the news and science editor of metropolitan dailies and national magazines, I have never seen a published photograph of a white crack baby. Isn't that something? Just like we know from history, from research, that there were white enslaved people. But you're never going to see that. I saw that one time, and that's when they wanted to give Mariah Carey a job, an acting job. She played a white enslaved person. I can't remember what movie it was. But we have not had a movie based on white slaves. And that is so true. We don't ever think of white crack babies. The punitive harms done to crack babies were first popularized in graphic detail in 1989 by the Washington Post columnist Charles Kramenhammer, who warned the inner city crack epidemic is now giving birth to the newest horror, a bio underclass, a generation of physical damage cocaine babies whose biological inferiority is stamped at birth. These infants, he claimed, constitute a race of subhuman drones whose future is close to them from day one. Theirs will be a life of certain suffering, of probable deviance, of permanent inferiority. The dead babies may be the lucky ones. This is not stuff that Head Start can fix. This is permanent brain damage, whether it is 5% or 15% of the Black community. Here we have something about news accounts warn that as they grew larger and stronger, these children would become fearsome adversaries in the classroom and on the playground. In September of 1989, 2 months after the Cromwellers column, a Washington Post article warned a time bomb in cocaine babies. Disaster in the making. Crack babies started to grow up. Oh, see, that's why this book is so hard to read, because it really shows how we, all of us, especially Black people, were dubbed. Okay, I want to read a little bit. That is the medical apartheid. I wish I could get a book club study where we could read books and discuss them, and to go out and help young ones, and we can learn from our own researchers and scholars. That would help us a lot. But it is so hard to find people that want to read. I have yet to meet a man that reads. I have yet to meet a woman that reads. No one in my family, as far as I know, like to read. It's hard. It's hard. I have to literally force my grandson to read. You tell them to read something, they act just like you just told them to go kill somebody. It's really difficult. I have all these books, and out of all my 30 years of raising kids, I have not yet seen them pick one up and read it, or even acknowledge the book is there. How many families sit around and read? The only ones that I know of that does that is like the Jehovah's Witnesses, or religious people. They sit around and read the Bible, and they become religious fanatics. I'm just going to read these 2 pages out of a book that I wrote, Live for the Future. Have you ever fallen and rolled? It takes a while to get back up when that happens, but we must get up. Sometimes something always occurs when we fall. We hurt something, if only our pride. What makes you fall? There are many things, but to sum them up, let's focus on 3 that assist in how, why, and when we fall and stand up. Obstacles block your future endeavors, put a snag in your plans, a menace your passage to uncharted territory. Most barriers are designed by haters and uninformed against you to be elevated in your career or lifestyle. However, we occasionally go blind with arrogance, attitude, unhealthy bodies, minds, and souls obstruct our path. Our mistakes are no excuse, but a reason why we roll when we fall. The problem is that the immature beings we are forced to live among cannot see or choose not to see. Therefore, we must gather intelligence and formulate secure navigation, checkpoints, and safe places with allies to parallel. We don't let obstacles be detrimental to the order we put before us and others we commissioned for our success. Collapse. Why do we collapse at the sight of blood? Why do we collapse on the road just out of nowhere? Give up and stay or stop. Sometimes we collapse due to mental, physical hindrance or just fatigue. Let us be clear, anything can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time, excellent or bad. Our chief law is to stay organized, tidy, and neat, and keep others informed. Our daily orders should be well documented in case we need assistance. We must focus on our activities and maintenance to ensure our lives run smoothly and efficiently. Although prevention is the key, unforeseen occurrences will happen and could become liability or assist our avenue in unison in our strategic effort to continue positive, hopeful, and generous. Air, we all need it. You can't see it, but you shall feel it and hear it with its effects and essential to our spiritual connection to the earth. We are living creation versus non creation, dominion brought forth with great power. Without great understanding and self discipline on that path we set, our air will become polluted and trip us up. Our pride companion is a character that warrants merit, air, or great substance, and clean air to keep us going. Our appearance is essential in our path. It can send us the wrong message. Our melody will support us in tune with the duet we encounter daily. Moreover, to keep the creation and the non creation in their rightful place, although they could become obstacles, we soon reject, turn down, dismiss, dismantle, and keep pushing. Knowing our atmosphere, we will strive to keep our circulation healthy, to take in the excellent quality partner we call air. So keep standing and trending on. Okay. Stand your ground. Stand your ground means you're justified in defending yourself against all threats and harm. It's also a law in some states. This is called the United States, but nowhere near united. There are 50 states with 50 different directions and mandates. Every family needs to stay updated on laws in their state and the states they plan to travel to. It is essential to know the rules because it sets the tone for how the citizens operate and flow. The family unit is the first defense against all threats and harm because when the family doesn't function, it becomes weak and brittle, and the circumference is easily disrupted by chaos interference. Soon malice creeps in, and maleficent actions replace the precious euphoria of maturity. The democratic leadership now becomes obtruse. The unit is unfit to function in society as a unit. Moreover, the communities are less safe and beautiful. Our enemies have conquered. Your ground is no longer extended to yours and to your enemy. Look around. Is this neighborhood your vision for the future? Stand on the ground that you will be proud to hold dear. And that's another thing that I have seen over the years in my growing up, that a lot of neighborhoods um, are not very neighborly. All right, you guys, I'm gonna get off of here. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.